If I asked you what you did last week to move you closer towards your goals, would you be able to answer me clearly? Because most people put in the effort, the hard work, but without tracking their progress, most of us are just simply guessing. So in today's podcast episode, we are diving deep into the most underrated tools for making massive progress towards our goals, which is tracking. The sentence that you may have heard 1,000 times, you cannot improve what you don't measure. And that's why when we track, we gain such an extreme, incredible level of clarity. It builds beautiful awareness because without tracking, our guessing game will not give us the actual facts that we need to be aware of in order for us to make massive progress towards this thing that we want to accomplish. And one of the most powerful things that tracking does for me specifically is that it removes emotion-based decision making. Oftentimes, I will feel in a workout that I'm pushing myself to the limit. But if I have put on my progressive overload tracking system, which is inside of my app, that I last week did so-and-so with this much weight, I will know that if I don't do that or more today, it's more so my emotions, my body quitting because it starts feeling uncomfortable. But if I have it written down exactly what I have done previously, my emotions, as in my brain that wants to keep me safe, that doesn't want to overcome this resistance, this discomfort, then that part of me won't be able to convince me that, at my 9th rep with this weight, I have done enough, because it is very clear that last week I did 12 reps with this weight. So we're going to push ourselves to the limit. And now that was just a workout example, but what we're going to be speaking about today is when it comes to losing weight, aka the nutrition we eat, sleep, time usage, finances, mindset, aka journaling, and improving our mental health, our relationships. Tracking can be used in so many powerful ways. And if there is an area of your life that you want to make progress within, oh my goodness, is this going to honestly blow your mind? I've been applying it every single day this week, and it has already helped me make massive progress within certain goals that I'm moving towards right now. And before we dive into exactly how I have used this, tracking helps you stick to what works and adjust what does not. And what tracking also does is it turns intentions into data-driven actions and habits. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I last week made an episode about a full life reset. And I wanted to dive deep into a full life reset in many areas of my life. And I got very clear on, okay, what are my goals moving forward? What are the things that I really want to work towards? And I reminded myself the power of tracking. So I have a habit tracker, which is something I highly recommend that you have as well. I also have a daily to-do list. But on the habit tracker, I wrote down, my goals when it comes to where I want to be by the end of the year, and where I want to be by the end of the month, and where I want to be by the end of this week. Today, as I'm recording this, it's a Sunday. And on my weekly habit tracker, I wrote down the specific goals that I wanted to make happen this week. And every single day this week, every morning, I went in to my habit tracker and I not only checked off the different habits that I wanted to have accomplished from the past day, I also wrote down different metrics when it comes to some things within my business. When it comes to my Hume scale, I track my muscle mass and my body fat percentage on my Hume scale, and I see it as a fun data-driven thing. This is not something for everyone. I used to be wanting to weigh a certain thing, and now I weigh more than I have, oh my gosh, for the past many years. And for me, I'm happy because I'm seeing that I'm gaining muscle mass and I'm lowering my body fat percentage. And I have a very high water intake, and my metabolic age is lower than my biological age. Like, I measure things when it comes to my health. And so I use it as a very data-driven thing. And so because I've been really, oh my gosh, pushing myself to the limit every day in my workouts, which was also something I made sure to check off, that I use progressive overload and really push my body in that way. But also, after being in Vegas for a week, living in a hotel room, and after competing, I had a week where I was letting go a little bit more when it comes to nutrition. And so that showed on my Hume scale by Sunday last week. And so when I set my intentions for this week, it was to get back on track with my nutrition. And so I've also been somewhat tracking my nutrition. And then I've been tracking certain things when it comes to my finances, as well as my sleep, because my sleep was something that I really have been working on this whole year, and I wanted to see if I could do an even better job at it. And I also had gotten back to reading, which is also something I had given up leading up to these competitions and all these other different things that I had going on in my life, because life has seasons and I was in a season of focusing on other things. But I know that reading every day helps me grow and make me feel good. So the reading daily was also something that I wanted to check off on my habit tracker. But going back to the tracking thing, I'd written down different things that I wanted to track throughout this week. And every day I would write down the numbers of the thing that I wanted to improve on. And in every single area that I had written down, I have improved upon, because every day when you write down this thing that you want to improve on and you write down what has occurred since the previous day, it activates the ARS, the reticular activating system inside of your brain, which is what scans for information, and it's what chooses what your brain focuses on throughout any given day. So when I'm writing that in my habit tracker every day, the thing that I'm trying to make progress within, the thing I'm trying to improve upon, it assures that your brain is scanning the world for ways to improve upon that goal that you are trying to improve within. And so throughout this week, so many fun, different ideas have come up for me to try to improve upon these different things that I want to improve within. And so I wanted to share a couple of ways that you can track the different areas of your life in order to actually make progress. And I want to start with the thing that I've talked about so many times, but maybe you need a reminder today because maybe you've fallen off track, or maybe you've never actually really fully committed to doing this. But if you are someone who wants to lose weight, let's say, have you ever tried tracking all of the food that you eat, even either in a food journal or in MyFitnessPal, a tracking app, or any of the other apps that help you track your food? Have you had a journal where you write down all the things that you eat? Because with the awareness of what it is that you eat, you'll be able to see what needs adjustment, and you'll be able to not bullshit yourself, which is something I've done so many times and still will continue to do sometimes. Bullshit myself in as to, let's say, how much I'm actually eating of the thing that my body's craving, as in like chocolate and just candy. It will make it very clear as to exactly how much I'm actually eating. And we can continue to fool ourselves like, oh, I won't write down that I ate this cookie because, well, we will find some sort of justification as to why we don't need to write that down. But if we decide to track and be brutally honest with ourselves, we'll actually be able to make the progress, because we'll see where it is that we need to make the slightest tiny little bits of adjustments in order to make massive progress. It's typically that hour from 10 to 10:30 p.m. at night when you're wanting to when you start craving some sort of sugar because you're getting tired and your discipline has faded from a full day of using it all up through all the different actions that you've had to do throughout the day. If you start tracking and you then realize like, wow, it's just that hour at night when I'm on the couch that literally ruins my entire progress. With that awareness, you can make change. It helps so much when you're in a transformational phase to start tracking. It's not for everyone. Everyone has a different relationship with food, and some people maybe potentially need to heal their relationship with food and their relationship with themselves and the love that they have towards themselves and what they actually deserve. That with that rewiring of their identity and beliefs and self-love, they will naturally start taking aligned nutritional actions because they start to believe in that they deserve this type of nurture and care and healthy nutrition that's going to make them feel really, really good. But the people inside of my Dream Life Society, when they start tracking their food and, they give us weekly updates, daily updates, a lot of beautiful individuals do inside of our community, it, due to this tracking, helps them really realize, wow, this is where I'm going wrong. This is what I need to change. And when they then apply that, oh my gosh, the body recomps that we've seen inside of our community, the weight loss that we've seen inside of my community is absolutely mind-blowing. And we also talk about these other different areas of our life where we can really make massive progress when we start tracking. And I help every individual. We're about to jump on a call here in a little under an hour, where I help every single person who wants to make progress within some area of their life. But sometimes we feel stuck because we just need someone else to guide us to the answer, because I believe that we all have the answers within. We just sometimes need new tools or other people's support and perspective on what we can do to improve that area. If you want to join my next transformation challenge, I'm giving away $1,500 to winners, and we start soon. And if you join today, you can jump into our October Transformation Challenge and get a little head start and have these weekly conversations with us, daily chats inside of our community, all my recipes, and just a transformative society filled with individuals that are so extremely loving and caring. And the growth I see in that community is wildly, wildly powerful and inspiring and beautiful. So join us if you feel called to. But moving on to the next thing, which, since we're in this like fitness health era, the next thing I just want to share, which I briefly mentioned previously in this episode, is how if we track our lifts, if we follow a specific workout program, which you will also get inside of my transformation challenge, there's so many different ones to choose from: home, gym, elite, bikini, fitness competition, quickie, travel workout program, at home. I think I said that already. Different workout programs. But if you pick a workout program and you start applying progressive overload, aka writing down exactly how much weight and how many reps and sets you do for every single workout, which is easy inside of my community because we have app tracking system. So you just write it inside of the app. It's already, all the exercises are already written out. So you just have to write down how many reps, how much weight you use. And that way it's just easy. Just insert, so you don't have to write it all out in your own form and bring a notebook to the gym. But track your workouts, because oftentimes we will think we are done with a set because we start feeling tired, because our body starts feeling fatigued and done and like we can't do anymore. But if we are tracking our workouts, if we're tracking how much weight we used and how much reps we did, we can then, we can't bullshit ourselves, because we will push ourselves to have to do just a little bit more on this day than we did last week when we did the same exercise. And yes, we as females, we go through monthly cycles, and sometimes it is that time of month where we are a little bit weak. And of course, during that week, some of us need to take it a little bit lighter, but as a whole, we'll be able to track and measure and get stronger every time. There is something just psychological for me about knowing that I did something last week that I, this week, will just automatically know that I have to push myself to do more this week. And when I don't progressive overload and I don't write it down, my natural instinct is just to feel like, oh, now I'm tired, so now I will stop. Like, I don't think I can do anymore. But if I know last week I did more, then I know that this week I will be able to do that as well. Unless, of course, I got 3 hours of sleep and I am getting my period the next day. You know, there's obviously times where we feel weaker, but for the most part, that is the case. So track your workouts if you want to make a big progress within your muscle mass, within lowering your body fat percentage, together with, of course, eating the right nutrition. The next thing that you can track that I think is really important is, if you want to get more sleep, is, I have both a Whoop watch and a Apple Watch, and I can see every night how much I slept. I can even see my recovery, track my stress levels, different things like that. But only thing you need is like create a plan. Like, okay, this week I'm going to go to bed every night at 9 and I'm waking up at this time. And I wake up at 5, let's say. And every day on your habit tracker, you can check off whether or not that happened or it didn't. It could also just be I want to get 7 hours of sleep every day this week. And then every day you can check it off or write down, I slept from this time to this time, or I went to bed at this time and had my alarm go off at this time when I got up. You can track it in different ways, but just if you track it, I just so believe that you are going to make massive progress within your sleep. Moving on to the next. I've had a lot of conversations inside of my community about this, because a lot of us, we work hard. We have a lot of things that we want to do. We have a lot of things on our plates that we need to do every single day. But whether we're productive or just busy is two different things. And if we can track our time, as in, this is an exercise I've shared with you guys before on this podcast, but it's so powerful. If you take a full week where you track every single minute of that week, like it doesn't have to be like I brushed my teeth from this time to this time and then put on my makeup from this time to this time, but it could be I spent 25 minutes getting ready in the morning from 6:30 to 7. Then I was scrolling for 5 minutes on my phone, and then I ate my breakfast for 10 minutes, and then I blah, 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 blah. And I sat down on my computer to work from 8 to 8:45, and then I got up to use the restroom and get a snack from 8:45 to 9:05. Like literally, I know this seems very time consuming, but if you can write down every single thing that you do in a day, you are going to gain so much awareness on how you're actually spending your time. Because I think a lot of us, we think that we're spending so much time on the work tasks that we need to do, or so much time on the actually important needle moving actions. But when we write it down in that way, we gain a very honest new awareness on how we actually spend our time. Whenever I've done this in my life, it is mind-blowingly powerful because I realize where I need to adjust and where I'm doing really well and where I could make massive changes. For me, for example, I would want to get a snack every 30 minutes, where it's like, then when I've done this, it's like, no, now you're going to sit down for an hour and work without getting up and getting fidgety. And then the productivity within the work I'm doing becomes so much more powerful and efficient. Maybe some of us, we want to clean the house before we get to the needle moving task, or we want to, whatever it is that we tend to do, scroll on our phone. Okay, well, I'm spending 2 hours on the day scrolling on my phone. How could I improve that? Well, what I could do is when I'm working, I charge my phone in a different room. Or when I want to get to bed at this time, then I make sure to not bring my phone to the bedroom. Like there's so many different solutions. But once you have the awareness as to how you're spending your time, then with that awareness, you can make changes. So track your time this week if you're someone who feels overwhelmed with all the things you need to do, and see just how much progress you can make. I promise you, if you do this, because I've had many of my community members try this exercise and I've done it myself too, it is wild how much more productive we can get. Not just busy, actually less busy, but more productive, get more stuff done, be more efficient with the time that we have available to us in this precious life. I mentioned briefly that I started reading again. I wanted to read and I have a certain amount of pages that I want to read every day. And every day when I do it, I check it off. So if you're someone who wants to learn or read or do anything, it could be starting drawing or I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do. Write it on your habit tracker, weekly habit tracker, and check it off. I have habit trackers inside of my community if you are a member. You can also track your mood. Every day, you can give yourself a number from 0 to 10 as to how good was your mood. Maybe you're someone who wants to focus more on gratitude. How many times throughout the day did you close your eyes and just take a deep breath and think of something that you were grateful for, or just tuned into yourself and got present? Maybe you set a goal that this week you want 3 times a day to focus on gratitude or just get present. And maybe you set an alarm on your phone, or you just make sure to do it as many times throughout the day as possible. And then you track your mood, your self-talk, and your gratitude. And potentially just the day after, write a sentence or two about how you felt and why, and set intentions as to how you can adjust this coming day to feel better, and how you can change your perspective so that even though things come your way, challenges come your way, you still stay on track with a positive mindset and positive emotions. Something that I have done this week is get back on track with my finances. And this both comes to my accounting, bookkeeping, and investments. It is so wild because I am so little motivated by money that I knew that 5 years ago, I invested some money in Bitcoin. Since then, I have not checked once. I had not checked once. And this week, because I had a chat with my life coach, if you listen to my previous podcast episode, you know that I got back with my life coach after a long time of not speaking. And we set like numbers for different areas of my life and what I could improve. And one of the things was my finances, because I am not very driven by money, but it is something I want to get better at. So we decided that I needed to get really clear on my bookkeeping situation, on my investments and different things. And so this week I've been tracking both my spending, my usage, and all these other things in order. And I went in for the first time in 5 years to the Bitcoin thing and found out that it had grown, I think, 160% or something. So I didn't invest like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I didn't make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but for the amount of money I did put in, I made a little bit of growth. So that was amazing. And I got to see, okay, where are my other investments and where should I put more money into before the end of the year, before taxes and things like that. So because I tracked my finances, I now feel like I'm in such a much better place, and I know what I need to change and where I need to make adjustments and how I can continue to track this over time in order to, build a better financial situation for myself. Is this something you need to do? I'm sharing this with you because maybe one of these different areas is something that you're like, oh, I really want to make progress within this. Okay, amazing. Get clear on where are you now? Where do you want to go? And then track your progress and set some goals. And little by little, as you track, you're going to make progress within it. This also comes to if you're in school, track the hours that you spend doing deep work. When we think about athletes, how they literally track every drill, why would we not do the same thing for us making these goals happen? It could also be when it comes to water or supplements. Like, are you tracking, making sure to get in that supplement that you know is going to help you, or drinking the water that you know is going to help you? They make these bottles that I think we all know at this point about, these massive gallon bottles. And then it's like at 10 a.m. you have to have drank this much. And then at noon you have to drink this much. And then at 6 p.m. you have to be done drinking this much. It's so useful because it helps us stay on track with how much water we're drinking. And that helps us align with the goals of our water intake that we want to hit. And it's important for me to share that I don't think tracking needs to be obsessive. It just needs to be consistent. And it can be something that takes you 2 minutes every single morning. My tracking systems change, but right now it is obviously I have my long-term goals, my monthly goals, then I have my weekly habit tracker, my weekly goals and habit tracker, where I write down the habits that I want to be making, and then I make sure that I'm on track with the different numbers and ratings of the different areas that I want to make progress within. So have a habit tracker, a weekly habit tracker or monthly, whatever, with the clear goals, with the clear habits, so that every day you can go in and write down how the previous day went. And that way your RAS is going to help you move you towards your goals and keep making progress. I then also have a daily to-do list. So every day I ask myself, what's the best use of my time today in order for me to move myself closer to these weekly goals, monthly goals, long-term goals. And every day, once I've done a task, I check it off. It also helps me stay on track and not wanting to reach my phone or procrastinate with something that isn't aligned with where I actually want to be spending my time on that given day. And then every week I ask myself what worked, what didn't work, did I make progress, and what will I need to shift next week? And then of course, once again, I set the goals for the next week. And sometimes there are areas where I don't make progress because I had focused on something else, or something shows up that was unexpected. And then I maybe even potentially in a worse position than I was the previous week. But then that's where these habit trackers and just tracking as a whole is so useful, because then I know, okay, well, I took a step back. Now, if I want to make 2 steps forward this week, what would I actually need to do? What would I need to make happen in order for me to do so? And a common saying that I make, that I know my community members make, that we all have a tendency to make, is that I don't have time. It feels obsessive. It's impossible. I'll just do it intuitively. But trust me, I mean, you can. Absolutely. I have seasons in my life where that's how I want to live my life. Totally fine. But just know, if you want to make massive progress within something, this tracking, I think, could be really, really powerful. And oftentimes we don't think something is going to work that well for us until we try it. I will admit that is something I have done so many times. I'm like, no, for me, that doesn't work. no, I don't need to do that. It's not going to make that big of a progress. But then when I do it, I'm like, wow, what these people were talking about was right. I'm going to do it again. And then I'll fall off and forget about it. And then I'm wanting to get back on track. And then I'll remind myself of the power of it. And then I'll do it again. So I'm just hoping that today, something that I shared when it comes to this tracking sparked a little something within you in wanting to track one area of your life where you've been wanting to make progress, but you've been stuck. Because if you apply this tracking, I think in just 1 week, you're going to be able to see how much power is in tracking. And I want you to make progress. I want you to live out your wildest, craziest dreams. And that starts with one little habit at a time, one little tracking system at a time. If you found this useful and you think a friend will find it useful as well, I would love for you to share it. That is really how you can help a podcast host like me grow. And if you want to join my challenge community, my next challenge, or just my membership, which in my membership you get all my future challenges, then I would love to have you and have you be a part of a chance to win $1,500. I'm so grateful that you were willing to listen to this. I hope you go out there and track the things you want to make progress within this week. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.